right, so it is now 2:03, so to be mindful of everyone's time, we're just going to go ahead and begin. Aloha and welcome to this week's Warrioe Webinar. This topic is on WUE. So if you've never heard of WUE, if you've never heard of WUE, you get to learn today. We did send in our email invite. If you live in these states, then you are a WUE student. So we'll go over what the acronym means, and we'll be giving an admission session today. And we have joined here all of the counselors that share regions in the WUE state. So each of us will present a portion of the presentation, and then the rest of the time allotted for the webinar will be Q&A. So I'll go over how to ask questions at the end again, but if you do have questions during the presentation, feel free to ask it in the Q&A. We will address all questions verbally at the end during the designated Q&A time. So that is how you can communicate with us. This is a webinar style on Zoom, so you only see 4 boxes here, and that's all the panelists, the presenters. You won't see the attendees. That's how the webinar function works. So if you have any questions, use the Q&A function and do not use the chat, please. All right, so I will go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Connie Wilson. I am an admissions counselor, and some of the states that I service that are within the WUE region are Alaska, Montana, Nevada, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming. So if you're from any of those states, then you would be able to email me. Here's my contact info. It's connie@hawaii.edu, and I'll be presenting a portion of the presentation today, and then I'll hand it off. Amber is next, I believe.
Hi everyone, aloha. My name is Amber Owens, and then for the California students out there today, I am your official admissions counselor. Born and raised in California, now live here in Honolulu. So if you guys have questions about the transition from the mainland to here in Hawaii, definitely let me know.
Okay, aloha folks, my name is Justin. I'm the representative for the Pacific Northwest, as well as a variety of other states sprinkled around the United States. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'm also a graduate of the university, both undergrad and grad school. So anything that I can help along the way, just feel free to email me and ask.
Awesome. And then Amber had pointed out to me that we do have some international students joining us. And so if you are an international student, but you're living in one of the WUE states, things get a little bit more complicated with admissions policies as well as WUE. So you have your own designated counselor for international admissions, and his name is Moto. So you can email him. This is his email if you have any questions after the webinar that we weren't able to answer for specifically international admissions, then feel free to ask Moto. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. So the University of Hawaii at Manoa is a pretty big campus. We are technically medium size. We are situated on about 320 acres of land. And so you can see, this is the continental US, and thousands and thousands of miles away, here we are in the state of Hawaii. We're located on the island of Oahu. I'm not sure if any of you have visited Hawaii before, any of the islands. We're on Oahu. So this is the island that is the most densely populated, as you can tell by the map. This is definitely the city side of our island in Honolulu. So the campus itself is in a fairly convenient location, really quick drive, about 10-15 minutes to Diamond Head, Waikiki area, which is where a lot of internships could be if you're interested in travel industry management. But if you're interested in like the business sector or the financial district, that's about 10-15 minutes the opposite way. So very convenient location. Okay, so now that you know where we are, it's good to know who we are and who your potential classmates would be and your potential roommates. So we are a state school. So for that reason, we have a lot of students coming from in-state. So about 2/3 of our school population comes from in-state, and then the rest of the 1/3 comes from the continental US. A big portion of that 1/3 is states from where you guys are WUE states, because we have that WUE, we are a participant in the WUE program, Western Undergraduate Exchange, and so you have a discounted or a cheaper tuition rate, but Amber will go over the details about what WUE stands for in terms of tuition. And then we do have a 6% international rate. This is pretty high. We are ranked, I believe, sixth most diverse college campus in the nation. So if diversity is important to you, if you want to go somewhere where there's a lot of culture around, this is a perfect campus for you. We would be a really good candidate for you as you're deciding, which colleges should I apply to. And in that 6%, you can see over 100 countries represented. So that's very cool. If you walk around campus, you'll hear multiple languages being spoken. Our enrollment, if you're wondering about our size in terms of student enrollment, we are just under 18,000. And if you want to know particularly the undergraduate numbers, we are about 12,000 undergraduates. And for the incoming freshman class, I believe that varies around, it like wiggles around 3,000. So that would be the incoming freshmen, undergraduates 12,000. A big question we get is about class sizes and what's the student to faculty ratio. This number will change depending on your class standing and depending on what classes you're taking. As a freshman, sophomore, you're taking the entry foundational courses, and so those tend to be bigger lecture classes. So for example, if you were to take a history course, the lecture would be about 300 people, but you would also have labs or discussion groups where the TA, so the professor teaches a lecture, and then you'd meet with the TA once or twice a week in smaller groups of about 15 to 20. So it ranges. There's always some variance here. As you get deeper into your studies, like your junior, senior year, more niche classes, the class sizes will definitely get smaller. And then we do have a lot of different majors that you can major in. If you're undecided and you're not sure what you want to major in, we're going to make that decision a bit harder for you because there's over 100 that you can choose from. But if you're on the fence about some, here's some programs that our school is really well known for. So this is not Oahu, this is Coconut Island. This is a research facility. This is Oahu. So this is off the Kaneohe Bay. If you're interested in marine biology, we are a great school for that field. Anything sea related, actually, we are great. So we are designated by the Carnegie Institute of Research, Tier 1 or Research Tier 1. So all colleges can have different rankings, Tier 1, Tier 2. We are ranked Tier 1, and we are given grants from the government to do research in land, sea, space, and solar research. This encompasses a lot. So if you're interested in biochemistry with maybe a touch of agriculture, how it relates to that, that would be considered, part of the land research. So a lot of funding, a lot of grants to do research in that area. And then so on with the other fields here. If you're not interested in land, sea, space, or sun, there's definitely other majors. For example, we are ranked 16 in the nation for our international business program. And we have a lot of different reputable programs as well. If you're interested in Indigenous studies, we are one of the only college campuses in the nation that has a college specifically for Indigenous culture. So being on the island of Hawaii, we do have the Hawaii Nui Kea School of Knowledge, which is where the Hawaiian Studies major is housed, that college. So very cool. You'll see pictures of it later, but we have so many different majors and fields that you can choose to major in. So I'm going to switch it over to Justin, and he's going to talk to you about what you can do at Manoa.
Okay, so folks, in addition to just the academics, there's a variety of different things that you can kind of get involved in to kind of take you outside of the classroom to kind of cut loose, have some fun, and make some new friends. So I'll kind of go into the next few slides here. Okay, so the Warrioe Way. So one of the most popular things on campus for students to really get involved in and to stay in shape and be healthy and get swole is our Warrioe Recreation Center. And this is actually one of our newer buildings on campus. Is actually rated one of the top fitness facilities in the entire state. It has an indoor track, rock climbing walls, volleyball courts, basketball courts. It's all enclosed and air conditioned. So if you didn't want to deal with the humidity outside, you definitely don't have to. What I like about this is that you basically have all of your equipment all in one central area. It is in the middle of campus. So if you like cardio, for instance, not only do we have an indoor track, but there's over 120 different cardio machines, and many of which do have small LCD screens on them. So rather than you just running on a treadmill and it be boring the entire time, you can simulate as if you're running through the streets of Chicago or the Grand Canyon or San Francisco to kind of cut down on some of the monotonous there. If you do enjoy playing sports, if you maybe don't want to participate in one of the university's Division I athletic programs, we do have a variety of intramural sports. And it's everything going to be from flag football, basketball, volleyball, softball. But our newest and most untraditional intramural sport is knocker ball. If you're not sure what that is, it's where you're enclosed in like a large bubble, kind of like a hamster, and you're kind of knocking into each other and scoring points somehow. I'm not sure exactly how they score points or what technically the rules are for that game, but we do have that. If you do like acting or speaking in front of the general public or anything regarding theater and dance, we do have an on-campus theater called Kennedy Theater right on campus for you not only to participate in or to volunteer at too. I'm going to skip a step into the Kaleo newspaper. So if you folks are interested in maybe journalism or communications, we do have an on-campus on-campus newspaper written and edited directly just from students itself. It's actually rated 11th ranked in the country right now as far as our on-campus publications. And last but not least, I highly recommend this part, but if you wanted to get to know other friends, build your network, and meet other people from different walks of life, I highly encourage just getting involved in some sort of club or organization. At the university here, we call it the Registered Independent Organizations. And obviously, like any other institution, we do have academic clubs like business clubs, engineering clubs, foreign language clubs, and we have different cultural ones like that too. But we have some strange ones as well. For instance, by far the weirdest one that I've seen is the Medieval Sword Fighting Club. It's held on the engineering building every single Wednesday, right along Dole Street, which is one of our busier streets. So technically, if you drive by maybe 2 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, you can see about 20 to 30 students gathered all together with medieval like cardboard shields and foam swords and medieval like tools. They even participate with, you guys know what those pool noodle things are? They run around and they joust each other with that. It's super awkward to me, and maybe it's just a generational thing. I don't understand it, but a lot of students do kind of have fun and cut loose with different clubs and organizations there.
It's called LARPing.
LARPing. See, I don't know that. If you folks are interested in playing for one of our Division I programs, we do have 7 men's sports, 12 women's sports, and 2 co-ed, and the co-ed ones are going to be cheerleading and sailing. So if you do want to play, we highly encourage you to start reaching out to the various head coaches and assistant coaches. All of their directory and information and all their email information is going to be on the athletics homepage under staff directory. So once again, if you are athletically inclined and you want to play for one of our programs, feel free to reach out there. If you're like me and you enjoy playing sports and watching sports, but not good enough to play for the university, I highly encourage attending any one of our home games. They're all very social, a ton of different fun there. And best of all, it's all free. So even our football games at Aloha Stadium is free. All of our volleyball and basketball games at Stan Sheriff Arena, those all free as well. There's a lot of theme nights that go into it. I know every college is going to have their colored nights like black out, white out, green out, yellow out, whatever out night. But we do have theme nights in terms of, for instance, any kind of superhero movie that comes out. For instance, you know how Marvel had a ton of movies. There's always some sort of theme night where every student is encouraged to dress up like their favorite, I guess, superhero character. It's like Halloween on any given home game. When Harry Potter was popular, I think there was like 8 or 9, I think 8 movies that came out. There was always free ties and free wands for the first several hundred students. Same with Star Wars, where there was free lightsabers and t-shirts. So highly encouraged just to kind of have some fun, to meet some new people there. Okay, if you're interested in, we understand that you coming to Hawaii is an experience in itself. But if you wanted to kind of take your adventure elsewhere, maybe you wanted to experience another country or even another state, perhaps you wanted to visit New York during the winter and see the lights, or see snow in Washington, or even go to Japan one summer, or Europe, or South America, or Australia, you can definitely take your studies there regardless of whatever that you're majoring in. We have partnerships with over 160 universities around the entire world, where if you do choose to study in another state or another country, you will still be paying that same WUE tuition rate. So if you're curious a little bit more about this, if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous, you want to dive into a new culture, a new language, and meet some new people, there are 3 different ways where you can kind of get off island, and that's going to be the National Student Exchange, where you want to study within the United States, the International Exchange, where you're kind of taking your education abroad, and study abroad, where also you'd be studying, as the name states, abroad. So feel free to take a look into that. We do provide a variety of different experiences there. I believe the requirements are you have to have, I believe, a 3.0 GPA, and you have to be at least sophomore standing to be eligible for one of these programs. Okay, as far as student housing goes, the university offers approximately like 13 different buildings for on-campus residence halls. If you are an incoming freshman, you would be housed in one of those 4 circular towers down at the bottom half of that screen right there. Those are all completely identical towers, just facing a different part of the island. The best part about living on campus is that it's very social on campus. There's a lot of activities, a lot of game nights, a lot of movie nights that different RAs put on for students. You can definitely request to live with other individuals. So for instance, if you know of another friend who is also coming to the university, you can definitely request to live with he or she. However, if you don't know anyone else that's coming and you'd rather be placed on a floor, let's say you're a prospective nursing student or a business student, you can definitely be placed on floors with other like-minded majors. You can definitely request for that too. One of the benefits of living in one of these towers is that if you go onto the roof of any one of those towers, every evening you will experience pretty much this view right here, as you see on your screen. Sunset is like this, basically 365 days out of the year. So you will definitely have a 360 degree, view of the entire island, all the way from Leeward side to Hawaii side to even Waikiki Beach, as you see on the backdrop right there. If you folks do enjoy eating, Forbes magazine recently ranked us as the #1 campus across the country for on-campus eateries. And we recently topped out bigger names such as UCLA for that top rank. So if you like to eat, we have a variety of that. We accommodate all the different types of palate preferences and dietary restrictions. Because of how diverse we are, we kind of have to accommodate for each of these different things. So theoretically, if you wanted to bring your computer into the cafeteria and eat simultaneously throughout majority of that day, you can definitely do that. Just be careful for that freshman 15. Application deadline to live on campus is going to be May 1st, and we do prioritize incoming freshmen who are coming from out of state.
All right, so now you guys might be wondering, okay, I'm interested in the campus. How exactly do I get accepted? What's the process like? So the most important thing to note is that we are not a part of the common application. We are our own separate application that you can find on this website. Our applications are, of course, live for the fall 2021 school year. So the big deadline to note is that our priority deadline is coming up on January 5th. Our final deadline is coming up on March 1st. However, we will encourage all students to go ahead and make sure they apply by January 5th, just to ensure you guys can apply for scholarships, financial aid, student housing. You guys can get all of those things knocked out. Honestly, we suggest you guys to go ahead and submit the application as soon as possible. We are on a rolling basis system, which basically means the sooner you apply to us, the sooner you will hear back from us. We typically say that it takes between 4 to 6 weeks to hear back. Usually with COVID right now, we'd say about 6 to 8 weeks is our current processing time. So for what we actually look for in our admissions requirements, we know this year is a little bit different due to COVID. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is going to be your high school courses. So we're going to ask that you have 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 3 years of science, 3 years of social science, 4 years of other college prep, which can include foreign language, and a 4th year of math, science, or social science. Also 5 years of electives, which can be considered dance, band, PE, Avid, computer science, any of those extra courses will all fall under that category. So I know we have a bunch of California students here today. California students, you guys will recognize this is going to be very similar to your UC's A through G requirements, just some slight differences with science and social science requirements. We will ask that students have a competitive GPA. To compare that to previous years, our acceptance average was a 3.56 GPA. So if you have a 3.5 GPA or higher, you're going to be considered a strong candidate. For those who are wondering, especially those seniors, we are completely test optional for the fall 2021 through spring 2022 school year. So if you guys want to submit your test scores, if you happen to be one of the lucky few who took it back last fall 2019 and you did well and you want to get credit for it, you can absolutely submit it. But if you don't have it, do not worry. It's not going to hurt you in any way. Really, in the end, we'd rather keep you guys safe. So please don't stress yourselves out about trying to take that exam. We will not need it for scholarships or for admissions purposes. For the juniors, as of right now, we will be requiring it for the fall 2022 school year, but depending on how trends go, we may change that, that requirement later in spring, but right now it's too early to make that call. So kind of diving into more about competitive GPA, I know the big question we often get, is it ninth or 10th grade? Is it 10th or 11th grade? Is it academic courses, or is all courses? So my best description of it is it's going to be all classes that you've completed thus far. So on the transcript, usually whatever one says total weighted GPA, that's going to be the one you go ahead and submit. If you have below a 3.5 GPA, please do not worry. You still have a chance of getting accepted. We'll just recommend for you to submit some either letters of recommendation, personal statement up to 500 words, a resume, or a list of accomplishments. And basically just go ahead and submit that. You can upload it to your application, or you can submit it to us individually afterwards, or our main admissions email. And that will consider to help kind of boost your application so we can look at it a little bit more holistically. I see a great question that's asking about if intended major impacts your admissions decision. So the great news is about Manoa, we do not have any impacted majors. So please do not worry about that. The only ones that are a little bit more of our version of impacted or selective is going to be nursing and dental hygiene. So if you guys have any transfer credits, say you took some AP, like if you did AP classes, IB classes, or if you're a current transfer student, we definitely encourage you to explore our transfer credit database to see how your credits will transfer over to us here at Manoa. Transfer students, what we will need from you is a 24 transferable credits and at least a 2.5 GPA to be accepted to the university. And if you guys are applicable for fee applications or fee waiver applications, like say if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, the SAT, ACT, or NACAC fee waiver, definitely be sure to let us know and we'll go ahead and work with you and your counselor to make sure you guys can get a fee waiver. One of my personal favorite things about Manoa is the fact, of course, that we do participate in the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program. Exactly kind of what you guys know. So on the screen, you guys will see is that non-resident tuition price, which is around $33,000 per year. If you guys are, of course, from any of the WUE states, which most of you guys may know, but it's California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, basically any of those Western states, North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and I was like, there's a bunch, Idaho. You guys will automatically qualify under what we call the WUE, which would put your price at just under $17,000 per year. A lot of students view this kind of as a scholarship, but I think a better way to look at it is that it's kind of like a tuition discount code. So say, for example, if you know you're from one of the qualifying states, on your application, there'll be a checkmark box that says, yes, I would like to go ahead and participate in the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program. You go ahead and checkmark that box, and when you go to submit your application, as long as you're accepted to the university, you'll automatically get this discount. So it's definitely a huge help for those students coming from those Western states, which pretty much all of you guys are. So definitely make sure to check mark that box on the application. And then I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Justin to talk a little bit more about our scholarship opportunities.
Okay, so the university, we do offer a variety of scholarships for incoming students, whether you're coming from West Coast, East Coast, whatever coast, there's a variety of incoming scholarships for you folks. I highly encourage you to take a look at that link on the top right portion of the website right there. The Office of Admissions has several different scholarships specifically for out-of-state students that can lower your costs even down to the resident state tuition rate. Many of our scholarships, once you get it the first year, you're eligible to keep it for 4 years continuously, as long as you maintain a B average. So we don't try and trick our students. We don't give you the scholarship your first year and come your sophomore year, we yank it away from you. So you are eligible to keep them continuously for all 4 years. And on top of that, we also encourage students to fill out your financial aid application. It's a free application to determine if you qualify for additional loans and grants. Application is typically available every October 1st and closes February 1st. I know we have a question in the chat asking, or in the Q&A asking, how long does it take for you to hear back about financial aid? Financial aid, because the deadline is February 1st, they don't typically start notifying students until towards the end of the spring semester, maybe even into beginning of summer. If you wanted to double check on that, you're more than welcome to chat with financial aid counselors to figure out a more specific time period, because sometimes certain funds are first come, first served. So we highly encourage you to look into that as well. Anything else?
So now we're going to move into Q&A, but before that, so if you do have any questions, I do see there's a lot coming in, so I'll be moderating it, and we'll take turns answering the Q&A, but if you do have it, do not type it into the chat, type it into the Q&A. So I'm going to actually share with you our application tips. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so Amber went over a lot of this information, but this is just our application tips. Amber, is there anything that you wanted to add since you made this one?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is for the seniors, just to keep in mind that I know there's a lot of questions when listing your courses because you guys are on the semester system. So as you guys can see, it's going to be the fourth bullet point down. It says listing courses, and just make sure if you guys are on the semester system to go ahead and list your grades, your final grades in that same line. So it's okay to go ahead and write, like first semester, you got an A, so go ahead and write A/ and then whatever the second semester grade is. That is completely okay. And we always recommend for you guys, regardless if you're an incoming, freshman student or if you're a transfer student, to always make sure to include at least a minimum, an unofficial high school transcript to your application. So that way, if you ever make a mistake on your actual application itself, which happens all the time, please don't worry. But if you do make a mistake, we'll go ahead and reference back to your actual transcript just to make sure everything is accurate and good to go.
All right, so we'll go ahead and stop the share and let me pull up the Q&A. So we have a couple of questions about transfers. So yes, this presentation did not really address any of the transfer admissions. This is mostly for freshman admissions, for undergraduate, for the coming fall 2021 term. So if you have questions related to spring, we can sidebar after. Ask it after the main session. But yes, if you are applying as a transfer undergraduate, the GPA requirement does change. Your minimum GPA would be 2.5 and you would need 24 transferable credits. Justin did put the transfer database website on the chat. So go ahead and you can use that database to see how many of your credits at your current university would transfer over to Manoa. And that's not saying that if something's not in the database that it won't transfer over. It's just showing you in the past what other students from that same university who took that same class received credit for at Manoa. So you can use that as a guideline. And then maybe we can just do it Justin and then Amber and then back to me. We can run round robin it.
Okay, next question is, when is the best time to start? Wait, hold on. Sorry, I read the wrong question. Okay, the next question by Isabel, it was, I have submitted my application as of late September. Is it too late to submit a letter of recommendation and resume? Short answer is, if you haven't heard a response yet, which more than likely you haven't because we haven't started sending official notifications yet, you are still okay to send us your resume and your letter of recommendation. Simply email it to our main office email. If you have a pen and paper with you, it's just going to be manoa.admissions@hawaii.edu, and we can definitely put that email address into the chat too.
So I see a great question that asks, is the WUE available for transfer students? So yes, thank you for asking that. It is available for incoming freshmen and transfer students alike. It is also open for all majors, so it's not restrictive. I know in the past, some people will find websites and they're like, wait, it says this. Don't go off of the websites, go off of our main admissions website. It is good for all majors. Good question.
Okay, so there is a question about registering for classes, which we can answer. It's not on the topic of prospective students. So if you are trying to register for a spring semester, if you can chat me and tell me which spring semester, is it this coming spring for January? If so, you will receive notification, but I can give you that information separately. So just go ahead and chat me or chat the panelists and then we can answer that for you. So I'll go ahead with the next question. Trinity, you said that you applied with a preferred application. What exactly does that mean? So there's two types of applications. One says preferred, and then you guys can chime in too, Amber and Justin, if you want to add anything. But the main difference is from the back end and processing it, there's less pages. It asks for slightly less information. It's not as long to fill out. It's a bit more quick to fill out. I believe 9 pages as opposed to 15 pages from what we receive. When you do it, it's just 3 steps for all applications. The preferred application, I would say our CRM program says that this preferred application is sent out before the priority deadline. So it's essentially, you're just applying before the priority deadline, which means that you would be accepted before the scholarship deadlines pass. So it's making you a bit more eligible for those applying for those scholarships since you'll be accepted sooner. Anything you guys want to chime in or add to that one?
Yeah, I would say biggest reason, if you're wondering kind of like how did you guys find out about, like, how did you guys find me? How am I a part of the preferred application? It basically means you've expressed interest in our university before your senior year. So that's the biggest thing. So students, if you haven't received a preferred application, don't worry. It's not a huge difference. Just kind of like what Connie was saying, is just, it's a little bit shorter of an application because we already have some of your information on file. So it's just a little bit faster for you and for us technically as well.
Okay, the next question is, would dual enrollment credits be transferred over? And can I find out how they are going to be transferred over using the transfer credit database? So yeah, you hit it kind of right on the head where by using the transfer credit database, you can at least see which courses are more than likely going to be transferable, depending on the institution that you're going to. Generally speaking, if you're taking 100 level classes and above, you're more than likely going to receive some sort of credit, whether it's an elective credit or a specific credit for a particular class, like a chemistry or a biology or something like that. But start with that database first. We technically will not transfer over your credits until you have submitted your official transcript or your official final transcript once you've decided that you're going to come to UH Manoa. And then, yeah, after your application has been processed and completed. So it will take a little bit of time, but we'll get it done eventually. But you have to notify us that you will be coming here in order to kind of initiate that process. And you have to be sure to turn in your official transcripts. So any unofficial transcripts, we cannot transfer any kind of credit over with unofficial documentation.
So the next question is in regards to accepted students. I'll just touch on it real quickly. The spring application for 2021 has not gone out yet. It's not been posted yet, but I know once they do have it posted, it should hopefully be here in the next few weeks. They'll go ahead and make sure to send out an email for it. I'll go ahead and take the next one too, if you guys don't mind. So it says for the second semester of spring, my high school changed pass to no pass. How will that be considered on my application? So we know that pretty much, I think most high schools did that. So you're definitely not alone. Typically we don't accept it, but because of this weird, unique year in COVID, we will absolutely accept it. And we do keep that in mind when looking at your GPAs, just because we understand that it doesn't affect your GPA, and most of your GPAs may be only 9th through partway through junior year. So definitely make sure to submit some supplemental documents, if anything, if you're on that 3.5 GPA border or below.
Okay. Next question, is it possible to visit the campus in person? So that is a great question, and we are working to get some virtual options available for students, but as of now, we are not having any campus tours this semester, and most likely not next semester either. I know a lot of students and parents do want to visit the campuses before they kind of get a feel for it and see if this is, you know, what could be home for the next 4 years for you. So we are working to provide those virtual options. But as of now, because of COVID and the regulations, we are limiting the amount of people on campus. So students that live on campus, you know, they're free to be on campus. If there's in-person classes, you know, you're free. But as you can see, we're the faculty and the staff. If we are not teaching classes in person, we are asked to find ways to work from home or to reduce our time on campus, just to, you know, reduce the amount of people and keep it a bit safer. So if you received this email, you are on our mailing list, on our listserv. And so when we do open up campus tours, you will be included in the email. So once we are finally able to open that up, we will definitely make announcements, you know, all across social media. We'll shout it to the heavens, you know, so feel free to join us that time. Thanks for your patience in the meantime.
Okay, I'm gonna try and answer the next, I guess, 3 questions kind of in itself. The first couple talk about letters of recommendation. So we only ask that students turn in at most 2 letters of recommendation. So don't turn in anything more. It's a lot to read, folks. It's thousands and thousands of applicants. It's gonna take a while to read through. So if you're gonna turn in letters of recommendation, just turn in 2 at most. Maybe you can get them from a variety of people, maybe 1 from a teacher from like a core class, and 1 from like an administrator or a coach or a, you know, something like that, employer or your boss, essentially. You can get that. The other question in regards to letters of recommendation was, if you applied back in September and you didn't write an essay, can you turn in letters of recommendation? Yes. So if you didn't receive any formal official notification from the email, from our office yet in regards to an acceptance or anything like that, you are still welcome to email us a letter of recommendation or 2 letters of recommendation. But yeah, if you only have 1, then you can just turn that one in as well. And then the other question was a pretty simple question. Are freshmen required to live on campus? Short answer is no, you don't have to. If you have friends or family that already live on the island and you'd rather live elsewhere, you're more than welcome to. About 65% of our freshmen live on campus their first year, and after that, they kind of find their own places off campus with their groups of friends. So you're not required to even for your freshman year.
All right, I think I'm going to kind of take the same style you did, Justin. So I see a question that asks, I took classes at a local community college as a high school senior. Will those credits transfer over? So I highly encourage you to go ahead and check the chat because you're going to see our transfer credit database, and that'll give you at least a better idea about that. Most of the time, if you guys are taking like your basic English class or your basic math class at the community college, those we usually have no problem transferring over. So good question. It also, I see a question asking about with coronavirus, has this year gone back on campus? If not, will everyone be back on campus next year? So that we really don't know, just because naturally, as the world kind of doesn't know what COVID's happening, we don't know, we can't really predict it either, unfortunately. Right now, our classes for the fall 2020 semester is 90% online, 10% in person. So basically those classes that can or absolutely need to meet in person currently are. But we do still have students living in our residence halls. I know that's been a big question as well.
Okay, so if my GPA is over 3.56, how important are letters of recommendation and a personal statement? I would say if it is over 3.5, that would be up to you, and we'll leave that to your discretion. If you're over 3.5, I wouldn't say that you would need to submit both letter of recommendation and a personal statement. I would just select one over the other if you choose to submit one of those. And then I'm going to answer one of these questions that Isabel asked. It's very important actually for everyone to hear. Will admissions decision be mailed via USPS or email? So because of COVID, everything will be virtual. We'll be doing digital communication. So you will receive a digital acceptance packet and a digital acceptance email to the email that you indicated on your application. And let's see. So I changed majors after having already submitted my application. So that's fine. If you've indicated a major and then you change your mind later, you can actually change it when you're registering for classes, because you would meet with the college advisor for your designated or your desired major, and then you can work with them to fill out paperwork and everything. So it's a very easy process. You're not locked into the major that you apply with. So if you do change your mind, don't worry, you're not locked in.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take this last question about the transition? Basically, the biggest thing I think is important to think about is if you guys are a WUE student and trying to decide here coming to Manoa, is really keep in mind that while it's of course a great experience, you have to be prepared to be at a distance from your family. So if you guys are the kind of people that you can handle coming here to Hawaii and you're like, oh, okay, I can, go a few months until the holiday season and then fly home for that time period, you guys will definitely do well here. I know students always ask about shipping their car. I highly, highly, highly do not recommend doing that. I did it. It was a huge pain, cost a couple grand. It's a mess. So I don't recommend it, especially because there's not really parking on campus or around the island itself. If anything, you could always buy kind of like a beater car your junior or senior year and then plan to sell it later.
Alrighty, thank you so much for attending this webinar, and thank you so much for all of your questions. That's all the time we have for you today. I know some of you might have some other questions, so if you do, feel free to email each of us, respective of your states. If you're not sure about that, we do have a Meet Your Recruiter page, so feel free to, just type in UH Manoa Meet Your Recruiter. It's the very first link on Google, and then you will find each of our emails, so feel free to email us. If you have questions, just email us. Thank you so much for attending. You guys can go ahead and sign off. Have a great day.